Good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are. My name is Darren Joseph from HCJ.tax. We're the team that seeks to demystify the sometimes confusing world of international tax compliance, particularly for those who may be US exposed. Have a look at our website. We have over 2,000 articles on our YouTube channel. We have over 1,000 videos that speak to different aspects of international tax for those of you who live that international lifestyle. Today, we're joined by the one and only international tax badass, Mr. Jimmy Sexton, who is based in Dubai. Jimmy, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I have my LLM, but I'm an international tax advisor.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. And I know you personally and through your company, the Squire Group, there's so many, that seems to be an area of specialty for you and your team. Because I watch every video you've done, and so many of them are built around trust and foundations. You have a lot of content. So that's an area of special for your team. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Right. Basically, really helicopter view. What is a trust versus what is a foundation, and how are they useful? Just
Yep. So, I mean, the basic premise, I think, of both and how they protect assets is very similar, right? I mean, you're taking assets out of your own name and putting it within this trust or foundation structure. And by doing so, you're essentially accomplishing two things. Because you no longer own that asset, obviously, depending on the jurisdiction, you generally would not be liable for the taxes generated by the assets put in the trust or foundation. Now, that's not the case in every country, right? I mean, if you're an American and you put assets into a foreign trust, you're still going to be taxed on it because of how the U.S. taxes foreign trusts created by Americans. But in most countries, you would not continue to be taxed on the assets placed in the trust or foundation. And then the asset protection part of it is, because you no longer own those assets, if you get sued or become liable for something, those are no longer going to be accessible, right? But there's a lot that you have to consider when setting up the trust or foundation, because a lot of times people who are setting these things up, obviously they're transferring their wealth to it, right? So they want to maintain a lot of control. But the problem is, if you maintain too much control, then tax authorities are going to treat the assets like they're still yours. Or, for example, a court, if you had liability, could say, well, they can just order you to revoke the trust, for example, or to distribute all the assets to yourself and pay off this judgment. So there is a very, balancing act there between how much control you can maintain while still receiving these benefits. And I think one of the, when you start thinking about taxes, I think one of the biggest benefits of trusts and foundations is that these can be multi-generational structures, right? So if, the idea is, if you think about it, if you don't have a trust or foundation, let's say you're an ultra high net worth individual, right? So you leave 100 million to your heirs, you pay estate taxes, right? Now your heirs die and they leave it to the next generation to pay estate taxes and then. In 2 or 3 generations, the wealth is gone, right? And that wealth is then vested in those people, which means there's no asset protection. If there's any wealth taxes or anything like that, they're going to have to pay that. They're going to have to pay taxes on the income generated by that wealth. Whereas if we put those assets in a trust or foundation, we get a lot of benefits, right? Even for the beneficiaries. Because you could set up a trust or foundation, for example, and say, myself and all my bloodline heirs are beneficiaries. So that means your kids, your grandkids, your grandkids, and so on and so on. And what would happen is, generation after generation, the assets stay in the trust or foundation. And those beneficiaries can receive benefits, but they never actually own the assets. And that has a lot of benefits, right? I mean, one, assuming that the trust or foundation is set up in a tax-free jurisdiction, which it likely would be, the income is accumulating in there tax-free. Obviously, when the beneficiaries, depending on where they reside, get a distribution, there could be tax. But you don't have tax within the structure. Also, because the assets are never passed from generation to generation, you don't have the estate taxes. You don't have the wealth taxes. And more importantly, and this is something I think a lot of people don't think about, is because these beneficiaries don't own these assets, they don't need to think about what countries they're going to live in as much, right? So if you have 20 million in assets, you need to think, okay, are there wealth taxes? Are there inheritance taxes? what are the income taxes? But if it's within the trust, you don't really have, there's no better way to say it, but you're not burdened with the wealth, right? I mean, you can kind of go where you want. You pay taxes on the distributions, but you don't have to worry about that wealth being attributed to you or that income being attributed to you in tax. And likewise, it also provides asset protection for the beneficiaries, right? If they get sued, the assets are in the trust or foundation, right? So they're not accessible. If they get divorced, not their assets, not at risk. So I think that the trusts and foundations are by far the pillar of any asset protection strategy.
Right, and I encourage anyone who's watching this video and they want to get more details, to just do a search on YouTube for Squad Group, Jimmy Sexton, and I spend an inordinate amount of time online, and I've not seen any advisor go into the detail that you have, and it's made freely available. It's completely online, so I encourage everyone to take a deep dive into what could be a Pandora's box.
So if you're a 6, 7, or 8-figure investor, entrepreneur, or business owner who needs a tailor-made solution from a qualified team of professionals, we can help you achieve the international lifestyle, the freedom, and even the tax savings you're looking for. Visit us at htj.tax and live that international life.